Do you know what games I typically try to avoid? High fantasy, deck builders, turn-based, and games that just take too long to complete. So what better game for me to play than Baldurs Gate 3? But after seeing the relentless amount of articles, videos, awards, and praise it received since its released, I knew there had to be something in this game. Something in this game for me. What I didn't expect was just how much this game would not only change my perspective on these kinds of games, but also how much it changed my perspective on the whole gaming industry. So let me take you through my journey so far in Baldurs Gate 3 and why I think that this might actually be one of the best video games made of all time. A portal? Let's jump through it. Whoa, where are we? Are we inside the game? Not quite. See, in Baldurs Gate 3, before you start playing, you have to create your own character. And it's at this point where you're probably going to have your first, whoa, this game's pretty good kind of moment. Now at first you'll be asked to make a character origin. You can choose one of the pre-selected ones on screen here, but since this is a role-playing game, we're going to go custom. Now the next step is choosing your race, and there are 11 races available, all of which have different variations in terms of movement speeds, proficiencies, perks, and even some sub-races. Now once you've done that, the next thing you're going to do is pick a class. This is probably one of the most important things you'll pick in the game. There are a total of 12 classes and 46 subclasses. Holy shit, that's a lot. You then need to choose a background for your character, which is kind of like its backstory, and then you can assign your ability points. Now if you're like me and you have no idea how to play this game and you've never played a game like this before, just leave it alone. The game has a pretty decent preset based on your character or class that you've chosen. Don't muck around with it, just leave it, it's pretty good. Now after you've done all that, you can change your character's appearance. You can change their face, their gender, their genitals, and anything else that you see fit to your heart's content. This is a great customization menu, one where you really feel like no two players could create the same characters by accident. So now we've created a character, we can start playing the game, right? No, you've got to do the whole thing again when creating your own guardian character. More on them later. But who knows, maybe after 10 hours in the character creation menu, you might be able to finally start playing the game. Now this game sets up one of the strongest openings to any game I've ever played before, and for a game that I've got no knowledge about, by 2 minutes in, I was hooked. I instantly saw the grandeur that this game has. I saw flying octopus things abducting people, all being controlled by Zoidberg himself. I saw dragons come out of nowhere, and it was just such a good hook to get me interested. And you also see these creepy little parasites jump into people's eyes, but because they form part of the story, I won't touch on them too much. But wow, what an interesting way to get me involved in the game. These creepy little buggers will form the motivations throughout your first act, which is basically where I've played up to. You do go around to different areas in search of ways to rid your bodies of these parasites, only to find out later that they actually might be a bit more useful than what you gave them credit for, but this might not be without consequences. In terms of the game's story, I won't touch on it too much, mainly because I don't want to spoil it for you in case you haven't played, and also because there are thousands of different branching paths, my story will be completely different to your story, so what's the point? All I can say is that my version of this story has been absolutely superb. I've been immersed throughout my 30 hours that I've played. Everything is so interesting and you need to get this game. 30 hours in this game for me has truly felt like I've put in maybe 5 hours tops. I have no indication of slowing down, and I'm always just eager to jump back in to see what this world has to offer me. It truly has been one of the most immersive, interesting, and one of the most well-written games I've played in years. Now, if you want to differentiate this game even further, you can go ahead and create a multiplayer lobby where every single one of these playable characters turns into a real person, and you can imagine how that goes with your friends. Oh shit, I think he's dead. Now when the gameplay actually starts, you awaken from your pod, and the first decision I made in this game got me blown up. Now, as at this point, I understood that this game was going to have its way with me, but what I didn't understand was just how freeing these options and choices are going to be throughout my time. Do I or don't I put my hand in this guy's brain and give him the old tickle me Elmo treatment? Do I want to kick this squirrel? Yes Do I want to save this guy from the windmill or make it go faster? Obviously. Do I want to rub my face in shit? Of course. These, along with many more choices, are open entirely to you, and it just sets the stage to an amazing experience. Also, these walls are like super fleshy, and the doors are sphincters, if you're into that. And then you've got these mushroom things that look like, you know what? Never mind. Now the choices acted quickly in getting me incredibly immersed in this game. Too often you play a game that is so narratively driven that you feel like you're on a set track enjoying the ride. And while it is fun, you're just traveling along someone else's track that has been built before you. Baldurs Gate 3 is the first game that I've played in many years that I truly felt like I have an infinite amount of possibilities at my disposal, and the only thing that was limiting me was my own imagination. Now when I talk about choices, these choices aren't just shitty choices that take you around a different path but ultimately lead back into the one resolve. From the very start of the game, almost every decision you make has very real world consequences. Some may be big, some may be small, but all choices need to be considered. One such example was me being royally screwed by the Grinch here, and I had a couple of options. I could engage in a conflict, or I could hand over Shadow's artifact. In doing so, I would be able to secure a large reward, but I would have also lost the trust I was building with her at the time and completely tarnishing that relationship. Now I decided to hide the artifact because, you know, I was trying to romance Shadowheart, so I didn't want to jeopardize that in any way. News to me, as soon as we ended that conflict after a lucky little dice roll, I was being encumbered by voices that dropped me to my knees, not in the good way. And the only thing that saved us from these voices was Shadowheart's artifact, the artifact that I could have easily just disposed of. Had I have done that, what kind of consequences would have played out? Would I have been able to escape these voices? How different of a path would I be on if I made a different decision? And this is where the game truly shines. Every decision has gravity, weight, and consequences to them. It might not be immediate like this situation, but somewhere along the lines, your decisions are going to catch up with you, so you better be ready for that. Now obviously consequences can't really be big all the time, however, even small consequences change the way that the gameplay feels. I got into an accidental fight and I killed this guy in a different save file, and then I was walking to the door and I was wondering why the door wasn't opening. It turns out that this guy was the fucking doorman, and he was the one who would pull the lever to open this door. Hello? Someone open the door? It turns out if you kill the doorman, the door won't open. Now I did say that I got out of the conflict thanks to a lucky dice roll, so let's talk about that for a little bit. I don't play D&D, I never have, so this rolling for anything mechanic was totally lost on me at the start. You roll for perception, you roll to stay hidden, how about you roll for some bitches? But I wasn't actually expecting how much I would love this mechanic. Leaving so much to the unknown, to these tiny little numbers on this dice, the fate and course of my entire journey perpetually changing by the roll of this one seemingly insignificant object. Sometimes you get a good roll, sometimes lady luck just isn't on your side, but I would take the consequences or the benefits and just accept it like real life. Again, it's only added to my immersion of my story and provided me with an incentive to go back on the second playthrough to see how the paths can differ. Now this game toys with your emotions in many different ways. At one point it asked if I wanted to give this mind flayer a kiss. Now yes, I knew that this thing was going to kill me. I knew there was going to be no other alternative or other options or outcomes with this. But I was just kind of plagued with the idea of, what if I did it? What if I did it? And this questioning of, what if I just did that, got me in so much trouble in this game, but in the best kind of way. Also, I've got a rule that if a homie wants a kiss, you don't leave him hanging. Now this question of what if also is applied to the exploration in this game. Exploration is huge, and you really only get out what you put in. What if I go into this cave system? Oh shit, it's an owlbear nest and I've got to kill your mum for coming at me. Sorry little guy. The wall behind our fire looks a little funky. What if I just walk through it? Oh, it's a whole new room? Cool. It leads into a whole new ass area underground that would have otherwise been missed? Sure. And what if I do rescue some lady, resurrect her boyfriend, turn him into a zombie, and then use him for my own personal gain?
What's happening? Why is he still dead? You bastard! Give him back! I thought you were going to hell!
It's cruel, but hey, that's life, baby.
Oh.
I just cannot explain to you how open and free this game is, and it's not a game that you need to quickly bust through. Now, speaking of busting, this game also has romanceable options and characters, and if you spend enough time with them, you get the sexy time.
They're coming. They're coming.
Now, this is just another system that adds depth to the game and really makes you feel like you're truly making connections with these characters. And as much as these true connections make you feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside, the rejection is also equally as palpable, maybe even more. Listen to this, right? Astarion wanted to suck my blood. He was like, oh, I'm so weak and hungry. I'm like, all right, bro, I got you, right? Take a little sip, enjoy the nectar of the gods. I got you. Hope you feel better. I was then like, all right, if you can suck something from me, I'll be able to suck something from you. So I went down to the romanceable options with Astarion, and he fucking said this.
I'm flattered, but I think not. It's not you understand. It's me. I have standards.
The bitch just straight up rejected me, and it hurt, and I feel used, and I feel dirty, and no matter how much I shower, I can't get clean. It's just... And I haven't been able to put him back in my team since that rejection. It's hard to move on, man. This game fucking ruined my self-esteem. Now, you will come across many different characters throughout your time in playing, and it actually is astonishing what they've been able to accomplish. First of all, every single character I've come across has voice, dialogue, even the fucking animals.
I heard his name whispered. The rock shivers from the sound. The Ketheric Thorm.
There must be hundreds and thousands of lines of dialogue that were recorded for this game. It is just absolutely insane. And every NPC I've come across has been interesting in their own way. And the dialogue can range from them just telling you a simple story, or it could be asking for your help between two warring factions. Regardless of what it was, in my 30 hours of gameplay, I did not skip one single line of dialogue. That's how interesting it is. Even when it's just the most surface level of conversation, it's all just goated. Now, not to mention, there is also this soothing yet very omnipresent voice known as the narrator that guides you through this entire game. It's such a unique voice that adds intrigue, tension, and excitement to every line it reads to you.
You see a vision. Your lifeless body wrapped in fungal tendrils. The Sovereign is threatening you.
So not only is the game fantastic in terms of its dialogue, but it never felt like it wasted my time. Every single hour was just
banger after banger after banger after certified banger.
And on top of that, you'll also meet some really interesting characters that you'll be able to recruit into your party, all of whom have their own unique uses such as pros and cons to assist you in their journey and provide so much personality to an already fantastic game. And no matter your preferred playstyle, there is a combination of classes and party members to recruit that benefit how you like to play. Party members as well as the NPCs will also have interactions, and more often than not, arguments between themselves, which not only raises tension between your team, but it's also a very clear indication that you have stepped into a living, breathing world that is much bigger than you or your character. One example was Karlach and Will clearly having beef before I entered the mix, and there was another time where I woke up to shadowheart holding a knife to laezel's throat. Every character has such a rich and fulfilling backstory, and they often had interpersonal struggles with one another, woven life paths that crossed, all of which you'll be eager to explore. But not only eager to explore, you can jump in and get involved in this shit show. You can interact and engage with these ties, you can sever some relationships, you can strengthen others, and just tangle a few as well if you want to stir up shit. It's up to you entirely with how you handle these struggles. But just remember, there are consequences. And there really is this feeling that I've joined an existing world that, regardless of whether I'm there or not, will just continue on without me. I am a bystander in something that is truly bigger than myself. Now this is only further enhanced by the incredible attention to detail and overall world design too. It's just truly breathtaking how beautiful some of these areas look, and it's just a testament to the love and care that has gone into crafting such a masterpiece of a game. And so too goes for the character designs and the enemy designs. Alright, now let's talk game difficulty. Most players will get by on the balanced difficulty, which is, I guess, the medium one. However, if this is your first time playing and you've never played a game like this before, let me let you in a little secret. Just bump it down to easy. This is not a cheap way out. This is a good way that you'll be able to learn the mechanics of the game while still enjoying the story and having fun. This game for a newbie can be information overload. I mean, look at all this shit. Look how many numbers and words there are on screen. I'm not reading all that. Get out of here, mate. But I still want to have fun and I still want to explore the story. So by bumping it down to easy, I was able to not really care too much about what was equipped, but also not be punished by that. It also allows me to actually go through these items in my own time to learn about what everything does and how these benefit different kind of characters. So then when I go back on my second playthrough, I will then have a much better understanding of how the game actually works mechanically and will be able to enjoy that medium setting. The combat in itself is fairly self-explanatory, whereby you will attack in the order that is above you here, and sometimes allowing you to do multiple attacks per turn. Now the way that your combat will work will drastically change from anyone else's because it's entirely dependent on the class that you've chosen, how you've decided to level up your characters, what items you have equipped, and even what decisions you've made along the way. Take for example, me being a paladin, I became an oathbreaker, so that gave me some new abilities that no other paladin who isn't an oathbreaker or other class would receive. Now most of my time in the first act consisted of me going around to different locations just trying to get more information about the parasite that's crawling around in my fucking head. However, I am then visited by my guardian, the character that I created, to say, hey look, these actually might be a little more useful than what you're giving them credit for. And then you unlock a whole new set of abilities and a skill tree to take advantage of the little sucker that's crawling around in your noggin. And then you come to another dilemma in this game of, if I keep this parasite, there is a high chance that I might turn into a mind flayer. Or could I hold out long enough to not be transformed? Or do I just try to find someone who can get rid of this and possibly closing off that entire side of the game for me? There are certain characters in this game who apparently can take out the parasite. Some are more experienced than others, and some will give you a game-long buff and some will give you a game-long debuff. So be careful about that. I personally haven't taken it out yet, but I was considering it until I got that skill tree. And there are also just really sensible decisions that are made throughout this game, and it just feels completely liberating. And you're never really truly locked into a decision, because to some degree, there's always something that you can do to undo or reverse an action. Let's say at 15 hours in you don't like your class. Are you stuck with this build now? Do you have to restart from the beginning just to choose a different class? No, you can just change the class without any real consequence other than I think spending about 100 coins. And this is what I did. I went from a cleric to a paladin and found that this class suited my playstyle way more, which only further enhanced my enjoyment of the game. Now I did get a little too carried away in my excitement about the class change, but hey, it's just a testament to how much a simple decision or change can really enhance your experience within this game. Now, if you make a decision that you don't like, you can always rely on your quick saves. At the start of the game, I wasn't really using my quick saves too often. So when a mate asked me how many quick saves I have, the conversation went a little bit like this.
Like three or four times maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Now another just really sensible decision is when you recruit characters like good little Pokemon. As you go out to recruit more characters, inevitably some will have to stay at your camp just given your party limits. But it's not like shitty, disgusting, yucky, poopy Pokemon where if they are underleveled and you put them in your team, they are immediately behind the ball. No, this game just brings the character right up to speed and the same level as everyone else on your team, so they are just immediately ready to use and not instantly seen as a dead weight. And this is just an absolute relief for me, and something which really encouraged me to use a whole bunch of different characters, because I knew I didn't have to grind that level to bring them up to where the rest of the team was. Now, there are only a few things in this game that didn't make sense to me, or things that I just didn't like, but they are very minor in nature and barely detracted from the overall experience. The camera is kinda stinky. You can either look forward or you can look down like that. You can't look up. So when enemies are right above you, it's very hard to see them, sometimes almost impossible to aim an attack on them. Another thing I didn't like was the lack of fishing. How? This game has a food system where fish are in the game, you have fishing rods, you have bodies of water that I assume will have fish in there, and you don't have fishing. How the fuck does this game win Game of the Year without fishing? But this game lets you talk to dogs, so I guess that's alright.
Friend, I stayed with him until I knew he was gone. I'll never forget him, but I'm glad to have met you.
Now, in terms of the game's performance and bugs and all that sort of stuff, let me tell you, I was blown away. A newly released game, AAA, that just performs without issue. Wow. Could this be a well-made game? Now, in my 30 hours of play so far, I've run into one bug. That is it, just one. And it wasn't even that bad. I was fighting a whole bunch of goblins, and for some reason they just weren't hitting me. I'm like, I'm right here, you can hit me, but they just didn't. They didn't want to give me daddy's big fist, so I was like, okay, cool. The frustrating thing was how many enemies there were on screen. I had to wait for them just to stand around for a predetermined amount of time before it was the next character's turn. This took so long, and it was pretty frustrating. But then all I did was just reload the game, and guess what? Problem solved. That's it for 30 hours. Everything else ran perfectly fine. And do you know how amazing it is that I can turn on a game and have it run, be so immersive, and not be taken out by bullshit bugs? Oh, it is so refreshing. Baldur's Gate 3 really has set a new standard here. Not every game can be like Baldur's Gate 3, but Jesus Christ, at the very least, this game has raised the bar across the board. From game functionality, performance, optimization, there's no sleazy microtransaction bullshit, there's no loot boxes, no grimy and greedy DLC that was clearly meant to form part of the original game. This game is just a fun first game designed to give you literally one of the best experiences you have ever had while gaming. Now look, I was incredibly skeptical about this game. I truly was. I thought, just given how high fantasy it was, how turn-based it was just was a game that wasn't for me. But after playing, I can only sing its praises. This game by far exceeded any and all expectations I had for it, and I can see why this game won so many awards plus Game of the Year. Also, it's pretty fucking laughable that people genuinely thought that Spider-Man 2 had a chance of winning when stacked up against Baldur's Gate 3. Ha 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 ha, laughable. Now, I have left so much of this game out of this video on purpose to hopefully keep some surprises fresh for you, but if there's anything that you take away from this video, it is that no matter who you are, no matter what you're into, Baldur's Gate 3 is for you. But hey guys, if you had fun, please go ahead and leave the video a like and also subscribe to the channel. If you do want to go above and beyond and become a Ko-fi supporter, all that does is gives me a bit of cash on the side and helps fund what I do on the channel. Link to that is in the description below. But let me know in the comments down below if you've played Baldur's Gate 3, who your main characters are, and if you haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, what's stopping you from picking up the game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and take care guys, I'll see you in the next one. So let me take you through my journey so far in Baldur's Gate 3 and a portal? Let's jump through it.